Hi everybody, it's Eliza Sidner-Rom. Welcome back to part 6 of how to start a young horse. So now DW is being ridden off the lunge line by himself, and he is doing great. So I wanted to show you one of the next steps that I often do with young horses, which is to follow an older horse that is reliable and steady. So instead of lunging him every day before I start him at this point, I sometimes just jog him in hand because I'm hoping to get to the point where I don't lunge him quite as much. As I said in one of the first videos, lunging takes a toll on their joints and their soft tissue, so I don't want to lunge him all that much, and he's very good at lunging now. So I'm practicing in hand here, following TC, his pasture buddy, who he knows very well. And I want to see in hand first, since I've never done this, how excited does he get? Because DW is extremely playful. And so in the field, he nudges and plays with TC all the time. So I wanted to see in hand if he was just way too excited, because there are some horses that don't do well with this method of following another horse. So here you can see I just got on DW. I'm following behind TC, and you can see DW is a little bit up on his tiptoes. Like, he doesn't quite know what's going on. This is not what we normally do. He, at this stage, has been worked mostly by himself in the arena with my helper on the ground in the middle. So all of this is a little exciting. He's got his buddy down here. He's following behind him. He's sort of questioning what is going on. So I'm just going to let him walk behind TC until he relaxes a little bit, until he walks a little more flat-footed, relaxes his neck, takes a breath. There we go. Now he's starting to feel a little bit better. TC is the perfect kind of horse to follow. First of all, it's the horse that DW lives out with in the field, so he knows him super well. TC is a very relaxed little guy that we use for lessons for kids, and he's super reliable. He doesn't get upset by much. The only not great thing is that he is a 14-3 hand paint, so having a 17-1 hand warm blood follow him is a little bit hard because poor TC just can't quite go forward enough. So I've told Kate, who's riding TC, that she should make kind of a half circle at V and P and S and R, and then I'm going to try to go a little bit outside of that so that I keep giving myself a little bit of a bigger arena, but we're still not going to try to go into the corners, especially with my arena. If you had a fenced-in arena, you could do that, and that would be fine. But with my arena, open on the end and no fence, that makes it a little hard. So when I get too close, Kate is going to try to speed up, but I'm also going to just make a bigger path behind her. So we're going to test out whether we can halt, which is not DW's favorite thing to do, but I just want to make sure he doesn't immediately try to run up on TC, which he's thinking about, but he's not. And then we'll try to walk on, and then now that he's more relaxed, we can try trotting. And I've told Kate if he gets way too excited that I'm going to ask her to just circle and turn, and we're going to come to a stop as gently and quickly as we can. And that's why I pick a horse like TC, because if DW sort of runs up on him and bumps into him, TC certainly wouldn't love that, but he wouldn't care too much. I would probably not do this with most mares. I'm sure there's some mares out there that you could, but a gelding is easier to do it with usually, and I would never do it with a horse that I don't know really well in front of me. So now we're going to go ahead and try a little bit of trot. Okay, so as you can see, DW is a little confused as to what in the world is going on. Am I allowing him to chase his buddy? He's both excited and a little concerned. But when something like that happens, he cantered, I didn't want him to canter. I try to remind myself, trust in the training that I've put into him thus far, and just let him settle down and figure it out. Just go around, and as long as he's not escalating into bucking or bolting or etc., then just let him figure it out. And he did pretty quickly here. Now he's like, oh, never mind, we're just trotting. And you can see by his posture, he's still a little confused as to what this is because this is different. But what I like about following another horse is that they more naturally go in a straight line and don't weave around like a drunk. And they go more naturally forward because they're excited to follow the tail of the horse that they hopefully know pretty well. So this is happening with Dubs here. We're going to go across the diagonal now. And instead of thinking, where am I going? He's just following TC. And now we're going to go around to the right. And as you can see, the steering on Dubs is still pretty limited. But he's just following his buddy. And we're going to go around. I still have my ground helper there just in case he really got confused and didn't want to go forward. Because as I said in the last video, I do not want to start squeezing and kicking with my leg. You might notice that I do have a dressage whip in my hand. I use that on the shoulder with horses this young. You certainly could use it behind your leg like a normal spot on the horse, but I like to use it on the shoulder with horses this young so that they tend to just jump forward rather than possibly pop their croup or get surprised and do a little buck or something. DW is pretty relaxed about life, so I can use it behind my leg. So you can also tell going to the left, he did pretty well and he was steering quite well. Going to the right, he wants to fall in badly. So then I have to lead him out and he goes above the bit and so forth. But I'm not really concerned with his frame at this point. We're just going around and now we're going to come to the walk and I'm going to just take him back out towards the track this direction. And then we'll go back and try it the other way. So we gave them a short walk break, and now I want to go back to the trot and then see about trying the canter. DW picks up the canter to the left a little bit easier than to the right, so I thought we'd try it first this way. And as you'll see, it didn't really work out so well. First, he picks up the wrong lead, which he's literally never done to the left. And so we crash back to trot and try to regroup. And then we get the correct lead, but then we're kind of off to the races and he thinks really we're finally playing and he can attack his buddy. So I decided that this was not the best plan for the day. And I asked Kate to just gradually come back to trot and then come back to walk. And I thought I would try the canter again with her standing in the middle and me cantering around because he's been doing really well with the canter up until today. When I ask a horse this green to pick up the canter, I do it from the rising trot, but I change to the wrong posting diagonal. So watch here, you'll see me change to the wrong diagonal, and then I'm going to ask him to pick up the canter with my voice and a little bit my leg. And I do that because then I am sitting down when his outside hind and inside front are on the ground. And that's the timing that he would push into the left lead canter. If I stay posting on the correct diagonal, I'll be sitting down when his left hind and right front are on the ground. And that is the timing to pick up the right lead canter. So I don't want to pick up the canter from the correct posting diagonal. With a more mature horse, this is why we sit before the canter depart, but with a horse this green, I'm not going to come to sitting trot yet because he's not ready for that. So now I'll go the other way and try it. The right is harder for DW to pick up, both on the lunge line and under saddle, so it's easier for me to do on a circle rather than trying to pick it up and then go straight. And I'm going to ask my helper to just come into the middle of the circle to help me bring him into it. But same idea, wrong posting diagonal. He sort of is allowed to speed up a little bit and roll into it. And then I need her help a little bit still here to keep him in it. So here he'll go again. And we go on a circle because that's easier for him because he crashes in a little bit. But I just want him to get used to cantering and relaxing in the canter. He only has to do a circle or two, and then we can come back to trot. I said in a previous video that steering was one of the things that was the most different about riding really green horses. And another very different thing is going into the canter. So even if you're an advanced rider and you're used to picking up the canter on your horse every day, I find that sometimes those riders have a hard time picking up the canter on a green horse because you don't sit and you don't half halt and you don't expect the horse to just jump into it in a balanced way. They're allowed to speed up, they're allowed to sort of roll into it. It's really allowing a horse to pick up the canter in a more natural balance, the way they would, say, in the field if they were just trotting and then they rolled into canter. My seat in the canter is also different. Even though I'm in a dressage saddle and I still have fairly long stirrups, I sit a little forward, a little off his back, and I really go with him with my hand so that he's allowed to use his neck in a very natural way. You can't sit down and drive with your seat yet on a horse this young. So that's the workout for today, and I hope you all will subscribe so you can follow along on the journey for the future.